Welcome to the Blender Goon. In this video, we're going to go over the edit mode tools, and I'm going to try to cover most of them, and we're going to make us a lightsaber. If you're new here, the stuff we make in Blender, we upload into Secondlife, and I also have a Patreon where we've already scripted a lightsaber last week or week before. So when you're done with this, you can watch the scripting video on my Patreon and actually get the lightsaber working in Secondlife. So to get started, we probably need an image of a lightsaber so we have some kind of reference. If you go to Edit Preferences and search Image, you can turn on Import Images as Planes, and that will allow you to drag and drop images right into your scene. And then you can hit Alt-G, Alt-S, and Alt-R to reset its location and position and everything. Period on the number pad will center the zoom, and then we can rotate on the X by 90 and maybe go 1 on the number pad to go into front view, and we can take a look at it. You can also split this area over here by right clicking and do a horizontal split and drag this down, hit this little drop down here and change it to an image editor, and then you can drag and drop your image right in there also. So if you don't want it on the screen, you can put it over here and you can zoom in and out on it. And I think we'll leave it over here and I will remove this. But just in case, you can do it both ways. And I'll go ahead and delete that with X. Now that we have our images set up, we need us a cylinder because it's cylinder shaped. And it looks like it has probably 6 little things poking out here. So if we make our cylinder with 12 vertex, that should give us the 6 for that and the space in between. So Shift A, Mesh, Cylinder. And if you click your little last operation panel over here, you can change your vertex number to 12. And that will give us 12 vertex. Then we can hit Tab to go into edit mode. And you can see that we have our faces here. We want to be in face select mode. Yours is probably in vertex mode. So face select mode, the hotkeys for these up here are 1, 2, and 3 on the keyboard. So if you hit 3, that'll put you here. And we can select over here to select nothing, then hold Alt and click a vertical edge, and that will select the loop of faces. Then we want to separate these out so that we got a space in between. So if you go up to select, we have an option called check or deselect. That will deselect every other one, like so. And then our first hotkey we're going to mess with is extrude. So if you hit E, it does this, and that's not right. You can change this to individual origins at the top, or you can do an Alt-E and choose face by normals. So I'm going to Control Z that so I don't have extra faces. And the option I was talking about is up here for your transport pivot point. It should be default medium. And if you are median, if you select individual origins and then you hit E, it will, depending on which way you slide your mouse, move your parts out. And then we can use the next hotkey, which is scale, and hit S and scale them down a little bit. If you want to adjust these after the fact, you may have to change your pivot point again. If things aren't acting the way you want them to act, you might want to check your pivot point because there's no telling what you've got selected up here. So if I have individual origins selected and I scale with S, it's going to scale like this, but I don't want to do that. I think I've pulled them out a little too far, so I want them pulled back in. So I'm going to change it back to medium point. And now if I scale, it scales down, but it's also scaling on the Z, and I don't want it to do that. So let me go here. So if I hit S and then Shift Z, I can constrain it to scale on everything but the Z. So now I can pull them in and have them look a little better, and I can also scale them up and down if I want to. So when you're scaling, you can hit X, Y, or Z to scale on those specific axes, or you can hold Shift and select the one you don't want to scale on. So like we did scale and Shift Z, which constrains it to just the X and Y. So we have that. Let's go ahead and look at the bottom of our lightsaber. So the bottom has this little pokey thing coming out. It has some bevel to it, but I'm not going to worry about that for this video. And we're just going to extrude this out. So in face select mode, which is 3 on the keyboard, we can go ahead and hit extrude and just pull it down a little bit. And if you want those bevels, we may as well go ahead and do that. You can go to front view by hitting 1 on the number pad. And I'm going to go into vertex select mode for this, so 1 on the keyboard. And Alt-Z goes in and out of X-ray mode. If you have an NVIDIA graphics card, you may have to get in there and change the settings, because Alt-Z is actually a hotkey for NVIDIA and it will mess with you. I'm going to Alt-Z so that I can see through it and select these, and that allows me to select a vertex on the other side. And I'm just going to rotate it and then move it up a little bit. And then I'll do the same on this side. Rotate it and move it up a little bit. You could use mirror modifier for this, but I'm not going to get into modifiers for this edit mode video, because we can cut this whole thing in half and mirror it and work on one side, but we're just doing edit mode stuff today. So Alt-Z to go back out of X-ray mode, and we are going to look at the rest of our lightsaber here. So this is longer than what I made it, so we clearly need to make that longer. So a good way to do that is go into front view with 1 on a number pad, go back into X-ray mode, select the top edges, and we can just hit G and Z and just move it up as long as we think it needs to be. Probably about there. And Alt-Z to go back out of X-ray mode. Now we have this part here, and it looks like to be a little bevel poke out thing right here, so we're going to go into face select mode by hitting 3 again. Grab the top. We're going to extrude it. We'll just move it up a little bit. And maybe give another little extrude. And that should give us this part. And now I'm just going to extrude it up for the black part here. And it looks like there's another little bevel there. So I'll give it another little extrude for that piece. And then looks like it indents here and then comes back out, so we'll go up a little bit and then up a little bit again. That's this part, the middle part, and then the top part here. And then one more extrude for the top of the cylinder. So we'll just extrude that up there. Now, in face select mode, which we're already in, we can grab this guy by selecting the vertical edge and holding Alt, and that'll select all the way around. And then Shift Alt and select this vertical edge, and that'll select all the way around there. And we can do this and Alt E, extrude faces along normals, and that will, we can scroll those in or out and give us our little pop out thing there. Now for our little indentation here, we're going to hit 2 on the keyboard to go into edge select mode, and I'm going to hit Alt on a horizontal edge and just scale it in. And that'll give us our little indentation there. Now we need our black parts for this part and this part up here. So 3 to go into face select mode, and I'm going to Alt and select a vertical edge again. And we're just going to select this part here. And we'll do a Shift D, and I like to move it over to the right, make sure I got it. And then if you right click, it'll drop it right back where it was, but it's still connected to the rest of the mesh. So to separate it, the hotkey for that is P. So hit P, and we are going to separate by selection. That separates it into its own part. And if we hit Tab, we can select that part and then hit Tab again to go back into edit mode. And now we have it, and we can hit A to select it all. And we're going to scale it up just a little bit. So hit S, and then I'm going to constrain it to the X and Y axis. So Shift Z, and just scoot it out just a hair, maybe just a little bit, because I want to keep my my bevels there over top of it. And then if we go into front view, and then with 1 on a number pad and hit 3 to go side view on a number pad, that will put us on the right side of it. And we can select a couple of these, probably just those 2. And then middle mouse to move around. E to extrude on the X axis. And then we want to flatten these out, so we can hit S, X, 0, and that will flatten those out for us. And then if we want to, looks like there might be a little bit of a downward bevel on it. We can just hit SZ and do a little downward bevel on it. I can't really see what's going on, so I'm going to go ahead and give this a color. You're probably in solid mode, which is going to look like this. I'm going to go ahead and into material preview mode up here. And the hotkey for that is Z or Z. You can hit Z and then you can choose one, and we're going to do material preview. Now over here on the right, if we move this up a little bit and scroll all the way to the bottom here, there's material. We can select that, add a new material, and then under the base color, we can just change it to black. And now we can tell what's going on a little better. We're not going to be baking materials in this video. We're just going to be adding some materials and exporting it to Secondlife. No baking or unwrapping. It's just going to be base colors. So let's go ahead and move this back up so we can see it. Maybe move this down here. And we need our top piece. So look at it and see how we're going to make it. I'm going to select my main mesh again. I'm back in object mode, by the way. Select our main mesh. And we're going to make this part. So we'll grab this, go into edit mode. Make sure you're in face select mode. Alt select a vertical edge to select all that, and we're going to separate it again. So Shift D to copy it, right click to drop it back in place, P for selection, Tab for object mode, select our part, Tab back in edit mode, hit A, and I'm just going to scale it down on the Z axis. And then I can move it on the Z up to the top. And that gives us that little piece. So now we can go into front view and into side view. And that puts us on the right side. So I want to go into the other side. So I'm going to hit 9, which will flip me around to the other side. And I'm going to select enough of this to pull it out. So probably these 3 faces or 4 faces. And then I can mouse over this away and hit extrude and just drag it out a little bit. And then do our SX0 to flatten it all out again. Now we have it has a little curve here and a little drop down, so I'm going to grab these faces underneath here. You can select them individually by holding shift and selecting each one, or you can select one and hold control and select the last one. It'll take the shortest path and select them all. And we're going to hit E and extrude those down a little bit. And to get that bevel, I'm just going to go into front view with 1 on a number pad, go into X-ray mode, hit 1 on the keyboard to go into vertex select mode. That way I can select through. So when I select it, it selects both sides. And Control Shift B is bevel vertex. So I'm just going to bevel the vertex a little bit. So it's not giving me the result I want. But if you mouse around, you can see that the inside of here is causing some issues. So we're going to Control Z that. And we're going to select these vertex on the inside of here. So this one, and that one. We're just going to delete those X vertices. Now if we select, go back into front view and select those 2 and do a Control Shift B, it gives us a little better. And if you scroll your mouse wheel, you can add an extra loop cut in there, and that should be fine. This isn't the most optimal way to do this, but it's going to work for our purposes for now. If you want to shorten this up, since this area is so long here, and it's not really that long over here, in front view, you can just box select this stuff. And if you hold shift, you can box select a vertex if you missed it. And then we can just hit GX and just move it over. And it should be fine. Or not. Let's not grab the top 2. Control Z and back into front view. And I'm just going to rebox select that stuff. So box like this and box like this. And now move it. And that one's not moving, but I'm okay with that because it's going to keep our circle a circle because we need to extrude off of that. So that shortened that up a little bit. Looks good. We will deal with this black piece later because that just looks like it's another cylinder just stretched out, so we can do that later. This part here we need to make. So back in edit mode here. And I'm going to alt select this one and that's going to select our loop there. Go back into front view, and I'm going to extrude it up to here. Easy, and maybe to there. And then I'm going to extrude again, move it up. And we have a tool called the shear tool. And if you hit T, you can bring up your tools menu. And the shear tool looks like an eraser down here. So select the shear tool. And if you're in front view, you can just grab this little handle here and pull it down. And that will give you your shear. And then we can hit GZ and move it down. And then I'm going to hit W to go back into the box select mode because I don't want the shear tool in my way. And go into tab, hit tab, and we can add this color, the black color, to this by going back to our materials tab here and hitting a little drop down. Since we already have the material created, we can just hit the drop down and just add it. And we've got a little flickery stuff there, so we can actually scale this thing up a little bit more. So just hit S and scale it, and it's scaling by the individual origins or medium point, but the medium point works off the point of origin, which is this orange dot. So we can set the point of origin to the center of this object by right clicking, going to set origin and origin to geometry. Now if we scale, it'll scale a little more the way you think it would. Now that we have our basic shape of our lightsaber, I want to add the black down here so it's looking better while we're doing it, and I want to show you how to assign materials. So if you select your white part of the object and hit tab to go into edit mode and Alt-Z to go out of X-ray mode, and 3 on the keyboard to go into face select mode, I'm going to select these faces, just the outside ones, by holding shift and selecting them. And then if you hit control and plus on the number pad, it will grow your selection. If you don't have a number pad, you're probably a mess by now in the video, but you can also go to select, and there is a select more or less. And if you click more, it'll do the same thing as control plus on the number pad. Once we have that, we can go over here to materials and click new. New is going to add us a new white material that covers the whole object. And then if we hit the little plus, it'll add a second material. And that second material, we can hit the drop down and select our black material, and then just click assign, and that will assign that material to those selected parts. Now if we go and hit tab, we have an even better looking lightsaber. Now I want to get rid of some of this chunky stuff. If you haven't upgraded to 4.1 yet, 4.1 has changed the auto smooth and has turned it into a modifier. But if we select a part and right click and set auto smooth, it'll smooth stuff out for you. So I'm selecting my parts and doing shade auto smooth, and that'll get rid of some of the chunky stuff on it. So now we can build our little accessories. So we have a little nubbin here. We have some stuff going on up here. I think I want to make this black part first. So I'm going to go back in the front view just so I can get my orientation right and mouse around this way. Select the top piece, hit tab, and I'm going to go into vertex select mode and select this vertex here because I want to start with, well, it doesn't matter. You can select that one too. Doesn't matter. And we're going to use Shift S, which brings up this menu. And that allows me to move my 3D cursor to where I want. And I want it to go to selected. And the reason I want it to go there is because when you make objects in Blender, they are created at the 3D cursor's point. So wherever the 3D cursor is where the object comes in. So now I'm going to go back into object mode because I want this to be a separate part. And we're going to make this another cylinder. So Shift A, mesh cylinder, and that puts it there. 12 vertices is probably fine, so I'm just going to leave it alone. I want to rotate it on the y-axis, and you can tell by the green lines there. So R, Y, 90. And I'm going to scale it down with S, probably about that much. And I'm just looking to make this part. So once we have that, we can hit tab, go into side view with 3, and then 9 to go around to the other side. I'm going to jump into X-ray mode with Alt-Z, and I'm just going to select these ones and drag them down. So GZ, drag them down. It's not working quite how I wanted, but that's okay. I'm going to check my axis. So the Y axis, I'm going to hit SY and scale it in a little bit. And maybe SZ to clean up the shape a little bit. And that looks pretty good. I can select the whole thing and do an SX and scale it down a little bit. Maybe move it on the X a little bit. Check how far that's coming down. It's coming down a little far on mine. So I'm going to box select the bottom here and hit GZ and move it up a little bit, just so I'm not too far down. And that's looking pretty good. And again, we can assign a material by selecting this and just choosing the black material. It's not bad. We need a little bump here. And we can use a cylinder for that also, and I can show you the bevel tool. So tab, actually not tab, Shift A, mesh, and another cylinder. And another rotate on the Y by 90. And scale it down. And that's putting it kind of in the right, actually it's in the right place, that's great. Move it out a little bit on the, I think, nope, it's not the Y. The X and move it out a little bit. And go into edit mode with it. If I start beveling and stuff, it's not going to work properly because I scaled this thing in object mode. That means if you hit N, you can pop out this panel and go to item, and you can see that the rotation and location and the scale are all not evened out. So if we hit Control A, we can apply all transforms, but I don't want to do that. I just want to apply the scale and maybe the rotation. So Control A scale and Control A rotation, and that'll be fine because I don't want to move my point of origin. Now we can hit Tab and make a loop cut in here. To do the loop cuts properly, so the hotkey is Control R, and then you touch either a vertical edge or a horizontal edge, depending on which way you want to go. So if I hit this one, it goes sideways. If I hit this one, it goes around the circle, which is what I want. So we'll select that one, and I'm just going to scale it in. And then I'm going to Alt select this one and Control B, and we're just going to bevel that a little bit. If you roll your mouse wheel, you get lots more bevels. I think just one is fine. That looks okay. And I'm going to scale all that out a little bit. And that looks pretty good. And right click, shade smooth. Or shade auto smooth. Shade auto smooth is probably better. If you want the bevel to look a little better, we can grab the space on the end here and just hit a GX and move it out a little bit. That looks a little better. The whole thing could probably be scaled on the X to squish it down a little bit. So Tab, A to select all, and SX to scale it down a little bit, and then we'll just move it on the X to bring it in a little bit. And that looks better. Now that I look at the picture, it looks like it's much bigger than that, so I'm just going to scale it up bigger. Probably about there. And it looks like we have another one at the top, so I'm going to do a Shift D and just move it up. Probably there. And then it has some stuff back here, but I'm not really worried about that too much. I am going to stretch it out though. So Tab to go into edit mode, 1 for vertex mode, Alt Z for X-ray mode, 1 on a number pad to go into side view, and I'm just going to box select those and drag them back on the X. So that gives me that little bit of stuff there. We need a shape for this, and that's going to be pretty easy to do. So I'm going to go back into face select mode, select the front face here, whoops, and do the Shift S again to move my cursor. So cursor to selected. And now I'm going to create a torus. So back in object mode with Tab, Shift A, Mesh, Torus, and we are going to adjust the heck out of this thing while it's sitting here. So number of major segments, if you scale it all the way down, it's 3, it turns into a triangle, so we're going to just get it a general shape, probably about 12. It could probably use some more, but that's okay. And then the minor segments are the loop ring segments. So if you take them all the way down, it turns it into a square. So we'll probably use 5 is probably good. Because once you shade this smooth and scale it down, it's going to look round. So it'll be fine. We can also change the rotation and location and stuff here, but what we want to work on is the major radius and minor radius. So the minor radius I'm going to take down real small. And the major radius, I'll take it down and try to get the general size of the loop. And that looks pretty good. Rotate it on a Y by 90. Go into side view and then hit 9 to go around the other side. We can move it up a little bit. And go into edit mode. And now we're going to work with proportional editing. So I'm going to go into vertex select mode with 1 on the keyboard. Alt Z for X-ray mode. That way I can select through it and get all the sides of it. And I'm going to select this top half here and turn this button on up here, which is proportional editing. And the hotkey for that is O. So if you hit O, that'll turn it on. And we can just hit GZ. And when you hit this, the circle of influence can sometimes be larger than your screen. So now you don't know what's going on. The whole thing's moving, and we don't want that to happen. So if you scroll your mouse wheel forward, it'll change the circle of influence. And we're just going to pull this up like that. And I'm going to grab these guys and do a SY, and pull those out a little bit. Maybe grab this and turn proportional editing off and move it down a little bit. And that's looking okay for our ring. You can go to object mode and move it up. And then flip around the side view and hit GX and move it on the X to put it inside here. Or maybe, yeah, I think that'll be fine. And I like to turn my overlays off now and again to take a look at what I got going on with all that extra stuff. And that's looking pretty good. And don't forget to turn your overlays back on. So what else do we need? Looks like there's another button down here, and I'm just going to use the same one from here. So I'm going to grab that and hit Shift D and move it down. That looks about the right place. I'm going to apply my transforms on this because that's going to put my point of origin in the center, and then we can use it to rotate around. And I'll show you that first. So right click. Actually, we'll just apply transforms. So Control A and apply all transforms. That puts my object's origin in the middle. So now if we hit RZ and rotate, it'll rotate around the origin. We could also do it by 3D cursor. So if you hit Shift C, that will reset your 3D cursor and kind of center your zoom. And if you wanted to, you could change your transform point to 3D cursor, and then that would move around the 3D cursor. So no matter where it's at. So if I hit Shift and right click, it'll move the 3D cursor. Now if I move this, it rotates around the 3D cursor. So Shift C to put that back. And 1 in the front view. And we want to send it to the other side because it looks like it's on the other side. So RZ 180. And that'll flip it around to this side. It's a little off. So I'm just going to hit RZ and just kind of eyeball it to where it needs to go. And I'm okay with that. I think we can actually go into top view and then hit 9. 7 on the number pad is top view. 9 will flip us to bottom view, and then we can kind of look see a little better, I think. Maybe. It looks like it's off a little bit too, so I'm going to rotate it to where it needs to be and hit G and just move it kind of into place. And that looks pretty good. And don't forget to change your pivot point back to either medium or individual origins. And we can apply the transforms of this thing again to center it back up. So Control A, all transforms, and that puts the point of origin back to where it belongs. So we also have these little details here. I'm going to go ahead and select the main part of our lightsaber, hit Tab, do a Control R to make a loop cut, and you'll see it appear there. And you can, when you make a loop cut, you can roll your mouse wheel to make more cuts. You can also left click once and you can slide it. So once I left click, I'm going to slide it down probably to about here. And I'll just leave it there. I'm going to hit tab and I'm going to move this up because it needs to move up a little bit. So GZ to move that up, and then select our lightsaber. I'm just hitting tab to go in and out of edit mode. And we can choose one of these selections here. Doesn't matter really which one. We'll take this one here. So 3 on the keyboard to go into face select. Select this face. We're going to do a Shift D and then right click to drop it where it's at, and then a P by selection. And then tab to go in object mode. Select that part. Tab again. And we're in face select mode. So if we select that, we'll see we're in face select. I'm going to do another loop cut to make the little ridges. So Control R, and if you go to the side edge, it'll make a loop cut that way. If you go to top edge, it goes that way. So here, and I'm just going to roll the mouse wheel up, probably about 10 cuts. And then I'm going to go back into face select, box select this part just to select them all. And then up here we have a select tab menu. If we go there, there's a check or deselect, and that will select every other one for us. And then I'm just going to extrude it with E, probably to about there. And we're going to use a spin tool for this to be able to get our sections. So hit A and go over to the right here, and there's a spin tool. And if you select it, it'll give us this little blue menu here. And I'm just going to grab it and swing it around a little bit. And if you change your steps to 5, that'll give us 5 extra pieces. And if you check this use duplicates, that will separate them out. And then you can just grab this white part and rotate it to where it needs to go. Probably about there. That looks good. And I'm going to hit W to put us back into box selection, which is the hotkey for the top box select here. Now I'm going to hit A and GZ and move it up a little bit. Looks like I may have had a little bit of an offset there. While I'm in edit mode with everything selected, I'm going to hit Alt S just to scale it up a little bit, and that'll pull it away from the edge there. And we don't necessarily need this top bit, but I'm going to leave it on there anyway. And I might actually change this to black ridges. That way you can see them a little better. So probably should have done that before I rotated it. Let's just leave it alone. It'll be fine. If you're going to make copies of something, make sure you do everything you want to do to it before you make copies. And I can actually Control Z that and show you real quick. There, I'm back to my single one again, and I'm going to select the faces on the end of each one of these and hit Control plus 1 time, and that'll increase my selection area. Then I can go all the way to the bottom over here to our materials and select the second material and assign it, and that makes them all black. Then I can go back to my spin tool and flip it around here. To there. And check my use duplicates. And then W to go back into that. GZ to move it up. Oh, select everything and then move it up. I probably don't need to move it up now, I already did. And an Alt S to scale it out a little bit. It should be good. I think that looks a little better. Okay, let's check our picture again. We have this little guy here, so we can make a little cylinder there for that. Might actually use a circle for that one. So I just mouse it around here to get here. I'm going to hold Shift and right click to put my 3D cursor there. Maybe Shift right click to a little closer, and it snaps it right to the face there. Shift A, mesh, and I'm going to do circle. And we don't need 32 vertices, probably 12 is enough. So we'll do 12, and I'm going to scale it down to about the right size. And I don't think we can rotate that on the X. We'll try it though. So RX and rotate it around till it's out. Yeah, rotating works, so we can just rotate 90 on the X. Now go in edit mode with tab, and we can hit F to fill it. And one of our other hotkeys is inset, so I to inset it in, and I'll just inset it to about there, and then we can extrude that. And that gives us that little part. And I'm actually going to pull it away from there just a little bit, so G, Y, and pull it out just a hair. That way we don't get that flicker and stuff from the clipping. And then I think all we need to do is the top piece. You guys can make a little something like this if you wanted to. I'm not going to bother. And I'm going to see. So it looks like our inside comes up to the edge of our bevel here. And this thing needs something done with it also. So I'm going to grab this one and hit tab and go back into solid view and hit Alt Z. And I'm going to grab the top edge loop. So 2 on the keyboard, Alt, and select the top. And I'm just going to move it up to there. And I might even scale that in a little bit because it's kind of clipping through from a little bit away. So face select mode, and I'm going to alt select this vertical edge, and that'll select all of that. And I'm just going to scale it on the Shift Z just a little bit. Good. And then I'm going to grab the top piece, and we're going to extrude that and scale it down also. Tab to go in edit mode on this part, and then 2 on the keyboard, and alt select. And we're just going to do E and move it a little bit, and then right click to drop it, and then we're going to scale it down a hair, and then E on the Z axis, and we'll just pull it down. And then I want to flatten all this out, so I'm going to hit SZ0, and that'll flatten that inside circle out. That looks good. This part may need scaled down just a hair more, so I'm just going to hit S and scale it just a hair. That looks fine. If you're noticing these lines on here like this, we can actually fix that by going into the auto smooth over here. So if you've updated to 4.1, the auto smooth's a modifier, but if you're still on 4.02 or less, it's over here under the object data properties and normals. So if you find the normals in the object data properties and open it up, you'll see 30 degrees. And if you just slide this just a little bit, it'll fix that. And then I'm going to select this one and slide it a little bit. And you can tidy up some of those weird edges like that one, because that's just a little more than 30 degrees. So that all looks good. Let's go ahead and make our last piece, which is the blade of the lightsaber. Now in Secondlife, if you want the blade of the lightsaber to actually grow and shrink with a script, which we've already scripted, it's in my Patreon. I'll probably have the script in a box too in World at my school, but it needs to scale from the center of the object. And when you upload from Blender, it's going to put the point of origin at the center of the object when you upload it. So we are going to need to adjust for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this middle part and hit tab, and I'm going to go into face select mode and select this top face and do a Shift S, and we're going to do cursor to selected. That way when I bring in my new cylinder, it's going to bring it in right here, which will put the point of origin in the center of it, which is what we need. So back in object mode, Shift A, mesh, cylinder, and I forget how many we did here, but we'll do 12. 12 looks like what we did. Good. I'm going to scale it down just a hair for our lightsaber size, blade size. And then I'm just going to scale it on the Z until it's I don't know, somewhere around there. Now we can go into edit mode of this guy and do a Control R, which will put our loop cut right in the center of it. So we can left click and just right click to drop it where it needs to be. Now at the bottom, we're going to go into face select mode, select all these faces, and hit X and delete the faces. That leaves us one little circle down here. We can actually go into this circle's vertex. So go to vertex select mode, and we're going to delete a bunch of them because we don't need them, or dissolve them rather. So I just need a triangle down here. So I'm going to delete everything except for 3. So I'm not going to delete them. I'm going to dissolve them. So dissolve vertices, and that'll leave us a triangle. Then we're going to select this triangle and hit S0 and left click. What that does is it cheats Secondlife visuals. So the object's still that big, but you can't see any of the bottom of it. These vertex that are scaled to 0 in Secondlife will be invisible. You won't see them. And we can see what it's doing by going to the object data properties and go to viewport display and turn on bounds. And that'll show you the bounding box for the object. So as you can see, it runs clear down to the bottom here. And we can turn that back off. And hit tab. And we can right click and shade smooth. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish texturing this guy so that we can get it into Secondlife. So tab, make sure you're in object mode. On the top here, we need a new material. So over to your material tab down here. And we're just going to click new on it. And find our little button because we didn't put a material on it. So click it and click new. And I'm going to actually change the texture to white. So just move that up to the top. And material preview. So Z and material preview. That all looks good. Check this guy. It doesn't have a material, so we'll click. Actually, these things can all share the same material. So I'm going to select this one and hit the drop down. Let's see what material I put on there. That's 003. So I'm going to put 003 on all of these by hitting this little drop down here. So that one, that one, that one, and that one. This one has 01. This one is black. And this one down here is those 2 colors. Also, we can actually change this 01 to 03 also. That way it gives it a silver color when we get it in Secondlife. So we're going to select this material 001 and change it to material 003. All right, good. Now we can join all this stuff together, but not the top here. So I'm going to select all the parts. And this, and this, and I'm actually going to select the lightsaber last and Control J. Then we can hit G and move it. Make sure we got everything, and we didn't. So we need this, and then select the white one again and Control J and move it with G, and we got one more part. So this one and then that one, Control J. So that leaves us that part and this part, which is good. And I'm going to select this part last because I want it to be the root. And let's see, in and the item tab, we're going to check the size of it. So I'm just going to select this part. So this part itself is 14 meters tall, so it's huge. So I'll select the top and select the bottom, and we'll scale this down till it's about 1 meter. And I selected the bottom part last so I can read the numbers for the bottom part. And Alt middle mouse to select on it and zoom in. That looks good. Now Control A, and we're going to apply all transforms. And that'll make our scale and rotation and location all zero out. We are also going to need 2 physics models for this. So I'm just going to make a cube. So Shift A, Mesh, Cube, and it's up there where my 3D cursor was last. And I'm going to hit Shift D to copy it. And that's good for those. I'm going to box select these two guys, go to File, Export, Collada, and over in the Operator Presets, I'm going to hit the drop down and we're going to do Static, and I'll uncheck Copy. And then choose where you want to put it. So I'm just going to put it on my desktop. And make sure you name it right. And Export Collada. And then we're going to take these two guys and make sure you have one selected. If one of them's not a different color, then that means you don't have an active object and it won't export. So File, Export, Collada, and at the end of Saber here, I'm going to put an underscore PHYS. And these things will stay the same as long as you didn't close Blender and reopen it. So I'm going to export Collada again. And we're ready to jump into Secondlife with this. Before we jump into Secondlife, there's one thing I forgot to mention. I have my face orientations turned on. If you've been following my videos, yours should be on also. And if it is, if anything on here is red when you're in solid view, then you'll be able to see right through it in Secondlife. Like down here, I have a little red area. I'm not really worried about it because unless you get real close to the lightsaber, you're not going to see it. But if you have stuff like this, you're going to want to flip it inside out. So we'll do it on this part because I know this part's easy to do. So if you hit L on one of the parts, it'll select it all. And if you hit Shift in, if it's inside out, it's going to look like this. And you can just hit Shift in and that should fix it. If it don't, click the little button. And that's in your last operation panel. Okay. And then you'll have to export it a second time because if you exported it with something red, then it's going to not work in Secondlife. Okay, in Secondlife, we can go up here to build. Hopefully you're on the test server so you're not wasting money testing stuff. We can go to build, upload, mesh model, find our lightsaber DAE, not the physics one, but the regular one, and double click it. And that'll bring it in and you should see the physics on there. We can check this little box to turn physics off. Go to physics and you'll see that the path should be lightsaber physics. We can rename it to lightsaber video. Good enough. And for the level of detail, when you're uploading into Secondlife, you want to make sure you check your levels of detail. So right now this looks great because I'm on high. These are actual buttons, by the way. So if you click medium, it breaks. And this is what happens when you get farther away from something. So if it looks broken, we can go ahead and hit this little up arrow here on me after you select medium and turn it up until it looks good. And that's looking half decent, but this is going to look like crap, so I'm going to turn it up some more. And it looks like for me 760 is good. If it still doesn't look good to you, turn it up some more. This thing's pretty low poly, so it's not going to matter. You could probably actually, instead of using auto generate, you could use load above, but we're just going to do it the proper way for right now. Then you can click low, and this is what it looks like from even farther away, and that's terrible. So I'm going to turn this up also until it looks decent. This one I'm actually going to use load above. So now it uses the medium's load or level of detail model. And the lowest, I'm going to turn it to 0 because we don't care what it looks like halfway across the sim. And if you click low, this is what it turns into. We can calculate weights and fees now. So it's going to be 1 land impact, and the upload is going to be 12. So go ahead and upload it. And we can res it out on the ground. And it's still really big. And it's hovering off the ground because the top is actually on the ground. That part we hid. So we can grab it and edit, and I think it's control. Nope. Shift. Nope. Control shift. And scale it down till it's about the right size, something like that. It looks good. And we can adjust the colors on this guy also. So for the lightsaber part, I'm going to go to select face and select it. Go to texture. Make sure it's white. Oh, I just click this here for white. And actually, it doesn't have to be white. We can change it whatever color we want. Darth Vader's is red, so we're going to turn it red. And then we can turn our glow up. So if I move this over here, turn our glow up a couple notches. And now we got a glowing lightsaber. For the other parts, they look like they're okay, those colors. For this one, I'm going to go to texture, and I'm actually going to make sure it's white. And it should be because we actually changed that one. And go to shininess, and I'm going to turn it to low. Good enough? Maybe high. Yeah, high looks good. Makes it nice and silvery. This part, we could probably do the same thing on it too. Now let's try that shininess again on low. See how that looks. I think that's fine. And there's our lightsaber. Now we got to get the script into it. So like I said, I'll have the script in the box under my desk. I have a scripting box under my desk in Second Life at the school. It's upstairs and make a left. So first thing you need to do is make sure the bottom of your lightsaber is yellow. To do that, if it's not, you can select a lightsaber, go into edit linked, select a part. It should only be two pieces, and unlink it. And then select the top, then select the bottom, and then just link it back together. And that'll make the bottom the root prim. Make sure you name the top part of the lightsaber LB, or the script won't work. Bottom, I don't care what the bottom's name, but the top of the lightsaber, go edit linked, select the top, and name it capital L, capital B, because the script is working off of that name. If not, it's going to break your lightsaber. Do that before you put the script in it. Then we could take the lightsaber script and drop it in here, and it's going to ask you to animate, and you can click yes or no. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to click no. You're also going to get a whole bunch of errors if you don't have properly named animations in here. So we have 3 animations in: a swing, an on, and an off. So find yourself some animations. These are not proper animations, by the way, and just drag and drop them in here. And we can close this and click our lightsaber, and then click it again, and it should start. I got a bunch of errors still. Because it's trying to animate me. I'm not holding it, and I told it no. So click and click. If your lightsaber doesn't go long enough, right click on it and go to edit and open up the script. And at the very top here, there's a on beam Z scale. You can change this. Like if I change it to like 2.6, and I saved a script, and then close the edit and click it. See, it goes much longer. So you can change that number to whatever you think it needs to be. I'm going to change it back to 1.3 and save it. And then click it, and it shortens itself back up again. The sounds are already in it. I have the string sounds here. If you find another sound you like and you get it uploaded into Second Life, you can just copy the UUID and paste it in between the quotation marks, and that'll change the sound for on and off. I also have a swing sound in here. And if I was wearing it, it would work, but I just wanted to show you this stuff before I put it on. And that should be it, as long as you name those animations correctly and do all the stuff in the order I just told you to do it in. It should work just fine. So I can close that, and we're going to rename this. So I'm going to turn off edit, and it's just called cylinder right now. I'm going to call it YouTube video LS. That'll work. That'll know way I'll know what's what. Close that. Right click, take it, and there it is. All right, so I can right click it, attach to, and we'll do right hand. Yeah, just attach it to the right hand. There it is. And then you can go into, whoops, go into edit mode and rotate it. Get it aiming the right way. That looks fine. And then when you click it, and it needs scaled down, so we'll edit it. Go to stretch and just stretch it down. Probably about there. Move it down. Probably about there. and then I can change the script in it to make it longer because it's definitely too short. So let's just try 2 meters. 2 and 0. Save. Close that. That's better. And now I got my lightsaber. And if I click it, I fall down because that's what the animation is in it, and it makes the other noise. So I have to make some animations for it. But yeah, there's an on animation, an off animation, and a swing animation, which is the one that's making me fall down. When I just left click, it does that. So that's it for this video, guys. Like I said, the script will be in the box at the school, and you guys can give this a try and see what you can do with it. You can also change the color of it. If you type /1 color, you can do red, green, or blue, I think. So if I type, I think you do random too. I forget. Let's do rand. The rand color is not managed. So /1 color green. Now it's green. And if you click it, it shrinks itself in. There's also some commands in here to where you can change it with text. I think draw and sheath. If you type draw, and that's probably also on channel 1. Let's try sheath. /1 sheath. Yep. And /1 draw. So you can do text commands also. And make sure your script saved and close it. All that. And that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to join my Patreon if you haven't already. There's hundreds of hours of helpful stuff in the Patreon. And make sure you join the Discord. And I will see you guys in the next one.